All right, again, today's topic is going to be how to use reference angles to evaluate trigonometric functions. We are going to learn how to find the reference angle, and then we will find the, the trigonometric functions like sine of not an acute angle, like sine of 140 degrees, cosine of 310 degrees, okay? We will do those kind of examples. So before we start, we should learn uh, in which quadrant sine function is positive and in which quadrant sine function is positive, and for all the trigonometric functions we are going to learn that. Okay, let's start with the first quadrant. Let's draw our x-axis and y-axis, and you know that y is also sine and x is also cosine axis. Okay, so the first quadrant is this quadrant. This is the first quadrant. This is the second quadrant. We go counterclockwise. In trigonometric, counterclockwise direction is positive, as you already know. This is the third quadrant, 1, 2, 3. So this is the fourth quadrant. In the first quadrant, let's look at the values of the points. For example, the y-axis, the y-coordinate and the x-coordinate of the points. Are they positive or negative? So in the first quadrant, y values are always positive, as you see, because this is the origin, 0. If our value is above 0, it is going to be positive. So in the first quadrant, y values are positive. That means sine value is positive. So in the first quadrant, sine is positive. In the first quadrant, cosine is positive because x values are positive. Is it clear? Cosine is also positive. And we know that tangent is positive over positive. That tangent is sine over sine, which is positive over positive. So that means tangent is also positive. And cotangent is always same as tangent. So cotangent is always positive in the first quadrant. Why tangent and cotangent same values? Because tangent is the reciprocal of cotangent, right? Tangent is 1 over cotangent, or cotangent is 1 over tangent, the same. So for example, if you take the reciprocal of a number, you don't change the sign. For example, the reciprocal of 1 over 3 is 3 over 1. It is positive or negative, it doesn't matter. You just don't change the sign. Positive 1 over 3. What is the reciprocal of positive 1 over 3? It is positive 3 over 1. What is negative 1 over, let's say 2 over 5? What is the reciprocal of negative 2 over 5? It is negative 5 over 2. Okay, we don't change the sign. That's why the tangent and the cotangent have the same signs in the first, actually always, not always in the first quadrant. So again, in the first quadrant, sine positive, cosine positive, tangent positive, cotangent positive. So please stop me when you don't understand something and ask your question. Let's look at the second quadrant. Second quadrant, sine is, sine is always y coordinate, so y axis. So in the second quadrant, sine is going to be, please tell me, sine is going to be positive, right? Because the sine values, the y values are positive in the second quadrant. And cosine, how about cosine? In the second quadrant, cosine
Negative.
Negative. Thank you.
Negative.
Thank you very much. Tangent. Can you tell me? Positive over negative? It is negative, right?
Negative.
Positive.
Yes, that's correct. Positive over negative is going to be negative. In the second quadrant, tangent is negative, and cotangent is the same as tangent. So cotangent is also negative in the second quadrant. That's correct. Third one. Third quadrant. In the third quadrant, sine is, you see, the sine is the y coordinate.
Negative.
Negative. Thank you.
Negative.
Cosine?
Also.
Also negative. Thank you. So the tangent will be minus over minus, which is?
Negative. Plus.
Minus over minus is
Or
plus. Yes, minus over minus plus. So that's going to be positive. And cotangent is the same as tangent, so it is also positive. And the last quadrant, the fourth quadrant, sign is, in the fourth quadrant, sign is negative because the sign
Negative.
function is the y, yes. So the cosine in the fourth
Positive.
quadrant, cosine is positive. Tangent is negative over positive, which is negative, and the cotangent
Negative.
is the same as tangent, which is negative.
Negative.
So I hope you understood this. This is pretty easy, clear. Now I'm going to give you another way for these kind of things, okay? Another way, please just let me clean. Let me clean the screen. All right. So another way of remembering this, now this is x and y. Actually, we can also say cosine and sine. Just ignore cotangent. You know that tangent and cotangent always the same, okay? Just ignore cotangent for this way. We have sine, cosine, tangent. As you see in the first quadrant, all functions are positive. So you are going to write, we have a sentence for this to remember easily, okay? All students take calculus. What does that mean? All means all functions, okay? All functions. As you see, all functions are positive. Students, what is the first letter? S. S for sine. That means in the second quadrant, only sine is positive. In the third quadrant, T for tangent, okay? T for tangent. And in the third quadrant, only tangent is positive. All students take calculus. C, the first letter is C, and C for cosine. That means in the fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive. Did you see that? Okay, so let's do some examples using these, okay? Using these informations, okay. Express each of the following as the same function of an acute angle. We should remember the question first. As the same function of an acute angle, what does that mean? As you see, 125 is not an acute angle, right? We are going to make that an acute angle. We are going to find cosine of 125 is equal to cosine of alpha. Alpha will be smaller than 90. Smaller than 90, that means acute angle. So it may be positive or negative. We don't know. We are going to find it, okay? We are going to find it out, positive or negative. And it is pretty easy. Just listen carefully. You will see that it's pretty easy. We have to find the reference angle first. 125. What is the 125 is in the first quadrant or in the second quadrant? 0 degrees, 90 degrees. So this is 180 degrees. This is 270 degrees, and again 360 degrees. 125 will be, this is 90 plus some more. 125 is between 90 and 180. That means 125 is in the second quadrant. This is 125 degrees. In the second quadrant, let me write the answer here. Cosine of 125 degrees is equal to. In the second quadrant, cosine is positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. Thank you very much. So we will put negative first and the cosine. And now we are going to write an angle, an acute angle here. What should we write? We are going to write the reference angle of 125. Let's find the reference angle of 125. So you see, if this is 125 degrees, 125 degrees, we have another angle between the terminal side, this is the terminal side, and the x-axis. Between the terminal side and the x-axis, we have, do you see another angle? This is called the reference angle for 125 degrees. And what is the measure of this angle? You know, if this entire angle is 180 degrees, so 180 minus 125.
55.
55. Thank you very much. 55 degrees. So this is the reference angle. You can also do this. 180 minus 125. You can also do that. You will find that this is 55 degrees. So cosine of 125 degrees is equal to negative cosine of 55 degrees. That was what the question is, okay? We are going to find cosine of 125. We are going to make it an acute angle, so that is negative cosine of 55 degrees. Now let's do the question B. Okay, the second one, B. Again, we have to find the quadrant of 195. Let's draw this. So you know this is 0, 90, 180, 195 is greater than, larger than 180, but smaller than 270. It must be somewhere around here, right? It's going to be 195 degrees. This angle is going to be 195 degrees. This angle, 195 degrees. But what is the reference angle for this? Let's find the reference angle. The reference angle is always the angle between x. No, this is x, right? First thing, I have to find the reference angle of 195 degrees. So this is the 195 degrees. This is the terminal side, right? So the terminal side and x-axis, between them, we have an angle, this angle. You can say we have two angles between them, this angle and this angle. So you are going to look at the smaller one, okay? You are going to look at the acute angle. So how many degrees is it? 195 and 180. 195 minus 180, it's going to be 15 degrees. The reference angle is 15 degrees for this angle. 15 degrees is the reference angle. Okay? So now let's write sine of 195 degrees is in the third quadrant. Sine is positive or negative? In the third quadrant.
Negative.
Sine is negative, yes, negative. Sine of, don't change this function, but change this value. 195, the reference angle for 195 is 15 degrees. So sine of 195 is equal to negative sine of 15 degrees. So I'll do the last one, cosine of 280. Let me do that here. Cosine of 280 degrees, okay? So for that, we are going to draw our axes first. And then, you know, this is 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. But we have the 280, right? So I need 10 degrees more. So it is 280 degrees.
Positive.
Let's find the reference angle. This is 280. But I need the angle between the terminal side and the x-axis, right? I need this angle. How many degrees is it? Let's not forget this is also 360 degrees. 360 minus 280, yes, it is 80 degrees. Thank you. 80 degrees. Another way of finding that, from 270 to 280, you have to go how many degrees? 10 degrees, right? This is 10 degrees. Because 270, 280, 10 degrees. So this is 90. 90 minus 10 will be 80. Okay, we have found our reference angle. That's 80 degrees. Now, let's write the answer. Cosine of 280 degrees is equal to, in the fourth quadrant, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the fourth quadrant, cosine is positive because x values are positive. Cosine of, what is the reference angle? 80 degrees is the reference angle. So cosine of 280 degrees is equal to cosine of 80 degrees. That's it. Please stop me if you have a question. We have just 8 minutes. That's why I'm going to solve one of the questions. So I'm going to solve this question. Okay, tangent of 300, and you are going to solve sine of 135, cosine of 210, and cotangent of 120 on your own. Okay, this is your homework. I'm going to do tangent of 300 now. Please listen carefully. We can evaluate the values of these functions because we know the special triangle. We don't need a calculator to find these values. Okay, tangent of 300. Let's start. Actually, we have done this in the previous lesson. We saw another way to find tangent of 300, but now I'm going to show you another, maybe you can say maybe easier. If you find it easy, you can use this. So tangent of 300, let's make it an acute angle first. So we need a reference angle. So 300, this is 270 as you know, and this is 360. So 300 is going to be somewhere around here. This is, let's say, 300 degrees. You see, this angle is 300 degrees. So what is the reference angle? The reference angle is going to be 360 minus 300. It must be 60 degrees, right? Because the entire angle 360 and this angle is 300. 360 minus 300 will be 60 degrees. So this is our reference angle. Now let's write tangent of 300 degrees is equal to positive or negative. Let's start with that first. In the fourth quadrant, positive, yes.
Positive.
Let's be careful. One, two, three, four. In the fourth quadrant, tangent is positive or negative. I see that cosine is positive, sine is negative. Positive or negative over positive is negative. It is
Negative.
the second way. All students take calculus. Calculus means only cosine is positive here. That means tangent is negative here. So negative tangent of reference angle, 60 degrees. Tangent of 300 degrees is equal to negative tangent of 60 degrees. And we know how to find this. We can evaluate this. We don't need a calculator for this. We are going to use our special triangle. We are going to use our, our lovely special triangle, 30, 90, 60 degrees. So what is the property of this special triangle? The side opposite to 90, if it is 2, the side opposite to 30 is 1, half of it, okay? And the side opposite across 60 degrees, we have root 3. This is our special triangle, okay? Tangent of 60, what is tangent? Tangent is, let's remember, so, ka, toa. So tangent is opposite over adjacent, right? So which side is opposite to 60? This is opposite.
Root 3.
Root 3, thank you. And the side opposite to 90 is always hypotenuse. So it must be adjacent. The third must be adjacent. 90 is always hypotenuse. Tangent of 300 degrees is negative tangent of 60, right? So what can you find the tangent of 60, please? Tangent of 60. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that's going to be opposite root 3.
Root 3 over 1.
Adjacent 1, yes. Root 3 over 1, which is root 3. Tangent of 60 is root 3. But here, tangent of 300 is negative tangent of 60. Tangent of 60 is root 3, so tangent of 300 is negative root 3. And that's the answer. This is going to be our answer.